Good morning, everybody. I thought I'd dedicate another video to the one guy that effectively the establishment has more fear over him than what I would suspect to be the whole list of terror suspects on MI5. Yes, of course, I'm talking about Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, the man who has served time justifiably and unjustifiably in prison for some of the things that have happened. But I'm here to talk about more than anything the unjustified things that have happened, and of course why they fear him more than anything. So let's start off first and foremost with that infamous case outside Leeds Crown Court. So a lot of this stuff is going to be old news, generally speaking, but it is worth reminding people. And maybe the more videos that I put out where I display this, the more likely people are going to see this, find out the facts, and actually realise what the establishment is doing is fundamentally wrong. Now, what happened outside Leeds Crown Court was Tommy Robinson was recording outside the Crown Court, making sure he was off the grounds of the court itself, because he did find out one time that if you actually go on the grounds of the court the hard way, that you can be arrested for contempt of court and sent to prison. And he spent time for that. So he spent a little bit of time with some of the best legal representation and lawyers and what have you, learning about this trade. And he basically educated himself on the laws of contempt of court. He recorded outside the court that day. The verdict was already given. They were going back for sentencing. And what happened was Tommy was there reporting it, and he asked people, and I quote, "How do you feel about your verdict, sir?" End quote. But they took it as, well, they took it as contempt of court, obviously, because otherwise he wouldn't have been arrested. But they first lied about it and said that he was arrested for breach of the peace, and only changed it to contempt of court when he was actually in a kangaroo court where he was sent to prison within the hour, which is something that you would only do if you have a serious problem with a person and you didn't want the truth getting out. It is effectively what people do when you are threatened by someone and you don't want to give them a fair process because you know they would absolutely fucking destroy you in a legal battle. But what can we expect from our lamestream media and our two-tier justice and police system? What can you expect from the Gestapo, as it were? God, it reminds me of Based Amy now. I haven't actually watched her in a while. Maybe I should. Anyway, back on topic. He was sent to prison, originally HMP Hull. Then there was a screw who basically sent him down to HMP Onley, and he spent 5 months there, I believe. And he told Rebel News, I believe, I'm trying to remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but the guy's, it's not coming to mind, Canadian guy. It has literally been like 3 or 4 friggin' years since I've talked about the guy, if not longer. But he sat down with him, told them that he was put in solitary confinement. He was not allowed to have visitary rights, which he had the right to, since it was not a serious crime like, I don't know, murder or robbery or whatever. And to be fair, he shouldn't have even been in bloody prison at all, since he never committed a crime. Because all the information he stated whilst he was outside that court was actually on the BBC's own website. It was in the public domain. Therefore, he couldn't have broken any laws. But of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this, because, say it with me, folks, it doesn't suit the narrative. They locked him up for a crime he never committed. And what was the price he had to pay for that shit? Well, he came out looking like a stick figure after he was put in a prison, HMP Onley, which had at least a 30% Muslim population at the time he was in there, possibly even higher. And basically he was worried the Muslims were poisoning the food in there. And they were also throwing literal shit at him. Yeah. And there's supposed to be a duty of care in prisons that you cannot have an environment that is unsafe for prisoners. And yet they're putting Tommy in a prison full of Muslims that want him dead. Who, I'll also point out, they're all allowed mobile phones and TVs and what have you. Would you see that happen with Tommy? Ha! You'd be lucky if they even gave him a newspaper. That's the thing. Our establishment is so crooked and corrupt, they can't even follow their own legal system. It's sad. Why is it that they have to do that to one man? I'll tell you why they did it. They wanted to break him. Ideally, they wanted to kill him. That's something they won't want to admit. That, of course they won't admit it though, to be fair. I guess if I was in their shoes, I wouldn't want to admit that I was doing such a horrendous thing that could almost be tantamount to war crimes. Obviously, it's not on the same level as, obviously, Tony the Liar Blair. He ended up sending hundreds of soldiers to their deaths, while this is only one man. But it doesn't change the fact that they are treating him like a prisoner of war, and probably not even to that standard. Like, at this point, he may as well be a terrorist on Guantanamo Bay. He'd probably get treated better there as well. Christ. But the media, whether it's social media or mainstream media, have done everything they can to stop that guy having a platform. All the left-wing Silicon Valley groups, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Parler I don't think did it, I'm thinking of a different one, but TikTok also banned them. Like, there are so many media outlets that have banned him from their websites, and mainstream media don't want to talk about him. Yet it won't stop idiots like Jacob Rees-Mogg or Benjamin the Bastard Buttersworth from putting out libelous, slanderous statements, which I don't even know if they apologise for that yet. I suspect not, but obviously that will have to stay in the realm of speculation. But it doesn't change the fact that he has been persecuted more than any other man that I can come to know and think of. It saddens me when an ordinary patriot, who, let's face it, they were the main reason the grooming gangs were coming out. This is the main reason why, effectively, people were finding out about grooming gangs. People like him. Not the mainstream shill media. People like Tommy. And I think what it is more than anything is they just don't want to give credit to a man who has made the establishment look like a complete fucking idiot. But what would I know? I'm just a man walking down the street with a phone in his hand. But there'll be many more people like me who are going up on the 1st of June who are ready to catch the establishment in the act, to expose lamestream media shills and crooked police, while they have to think about a plan of how are we going to discredit the far right. And here's a quick clue for you. You're not going to. Because here's the thing. A lot of us that are going up there, the vast majority of us, if not all of us, are not going up there with beer cans in hand. I don't drink, so I don't have that problem. But the vast majority of us aren't going to go up there drunk, looking for a fight, and being proper skinheads. Well, unfortunately, I might fit that category. Anyway, we're not going to end up going up there basically looking like some football hooligan thugs that want to pick a fight with someone. No. We're going to be going up there to expose two-tier policing. Oh, that reminds me now. There's also that little piece of work, Jason Farrell. You remember him? Sky News tried to do an interview with Tommy Robinson, but Tommy had a secret camera. And Tommy recorded everything. And they tried to twist Tommy's words. They literally tried to edit his wording to say that what he was doing, they tried to make it say that he didn't care if he incites fear of Muslims or Islam, as long as it educates the women and prevents them from being odd. But that is, of course, not what he said. He never said that at all. They completely edited what he said. He said, we don't care if it incites fear of Muslims or whatever, as long as it educates the women and children and prevents them from being odd. Not I, it. One letter. And they try to twist the narrative, which, of course, that is libel and slander in and of itself, as well as, of course, let's not forget, fraud by false representation, Section 2 of the 2006 Fraud Act. And at the end of the day, we have to understand, these people will stop at nothing to discredit a man who is a real threat to them. But not a threat because he wants to blow them up or shoot them up or beat them up or whatever, like I know a lot of radical hardline Islamists would. No, it's because he knows how to grab them by the balls and squeeze very fucking hard. He is a man who is not afraid to take the fight to the establishment. They have done everything they can to silence the man. They've tried locking him up. They've tried locking his family up. They've tried to arrest him in front of his family. They've tried to arrest him in front of his kids. They've tried to harass him when he's on holiday, which he has a right to a family private life, Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, which they always seem to violate his rights, but they won't dare do it to people who enter this country illegally. And effectively what it comes down to is our establishment are putting more resources into this lawfare against one man than they've ever put any resources in to fight these terrorists and to fight the pro-Palestine movements. And what we've seen time and time again with the police is that they are more than willing to get all tough with us, ordinary patriots who do not seek a fight, because they know full well we won't fight back, because we'd like to be upholding the standards of law and upstanding citizens of our country. They'd rather do it to us rather than do it to people who are threatening violence, who are inciting hatred, who are inciting genocide of Jews, and are effectively a threat to this country and others. But again, the mainstream media will not tell you that. How sad is it as well that when he got milkshaked as well, yes, this is a bloody old story, like 4 years ago if I'm not much mistaken, one of the first stories I mentioned about Tommy Robinson, but basically he ended up getting milkshaked by a Muslim. Now here's the thing, that milkshake, because obviously it's not water so it can't neutralise any acids and what have you, that could have had acid. And one of the comedians, Joe Brand I believe it was, even quote unquote joked that if only it was battery acid in there for people like him and Nigel Farage. How would she feel if it was said about her? How do you think that would go down? Like a lead balloon, I'd think. Of course, to be fair, it did go down like a lead balloon anyway, because obviously what they're talking about is inciting violence against a man. That is not a joke. That's not comedy. That is literally inciting violence and encouraging people to put that in whatever to throw it at him. And acid attacks, as we all know, are no joke. They cause permanent disfiguration, permanent damage. And here she is joking about it. And yet the media went out their way to portray him as the bad guy for defending himself and taking a swing at somebody who milkshaked him, when that could have easily been acid, could have covered half his face, could have melted it off. Like a hot knife through freshly churned butter. But again, the mainstream media won't tell you this. That's the thing. They won't tell you this because they know full well it would discredit everything they're doing. This is why they fear the man. Everything they try hasn't worked. Everything they've tried backfires spectacularly. It's why he has grown so much in support. And let's not also forget the fact that obviously as of recently he was arrested at an anti-Semitism march for him to basically declare his support for this stuff, to declare support for the Jews. He was arrested at a cafe for no reason, and he had no lawful order to comply with anything. But the police did so many things wrong. They filled out things wrong, they deleted evidence, they pepper sprayed him in the face at point blank range whilst he was restrained, which is actually against their code of conduct. There are so many things I could talk about, but unfortunately I have to leave it there because I have to go to work. But let that sink in, mainstream media, British establishment, two-tier police and justice system. We're coming for you because we're sick and tired of your injustices. We're sick and tired of your treachery against the British people, and we are sick to death of this constant narrative to destroy one man that you're afraid of because you don't have the brass bollocks to actually fix the problems you've made and admit the mistakes you've made. When I make a mistake, I put my hands up and say, I fucked up. I wonder if you'll ever have the balls to do that. I suspect not, because that would imply that you actually have something that we all have that you don't. And that is a modicum of decency.